time we did the first declension. That's the feminine. These are the ways we treat nouns in sentences, the way we decline them, that is, the way we form them in a sentence so that we see what function they're performing in the sentence. So we just said nominative, genitive, dative, accusative of the four main cases, and then there's that fifth one hanging out, vocative. And so remember what the first declension looks like. And what I have on the screen and what you have in your handouts, you've already seen this. This is review from last time. Remember the nominative for hora means hour or time is ora. For nominative, oras, genitive, ora, pronounced the same way as in the nominative for the dative, but it has this little, remember it's called a iota subscript. It's this little iota hanging out on the bottom down here. It's called a iota subscript, but pronounced the same way as here. So hora, horas, hora, horan. And then over here in the plural, horai, horon, horais, horas. So if we're going to say those over and over again to remember it, we would say a, as, a, on, I, on, ice, as. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. And then we saw that there was another form that this feminine can take, and that's these eta stems. It's formed very, very similar. Instead of a, as, a, on, we had a, ace, a, ain. And then it was the same in the plural, I, own, ice, as. This should all be pretty familiar. And then we saw that there are some words that mix them a little bit. We've got this word doxa. Does everyone remember what doxa means? Glory, right. That's where we get the word doxology. Here in the nominative, we had a, and then in the genitive, ace, a, and then back to the alpha, on, and then over the plural, it's the exact same, I, own, ice, as. And in this case, with the vocative being the same as the nominative in spelling for both cases. Everyone good with that? That's what we've been spending the past 2 weeks on, if you've been keeping up with homework. Now what we're going to cover is the second declension. That was the first declension. Now we're in the second declension. The second declension is for masculine words. Now, the meaning doesn't change at all. It's just with these masculine words, these masculine nouns, just like in Spanish or French or German, you have nouns are gendered. Actually, English stands out as kind of the exception in which we don't gender our nouns. But Greek genders them, and we have, in this case, the second declension, the masculine and neuter. No change in meaning, just a change in how they're formed. So we have the same cases here, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, but instead of a, as, a, on, we have os, u, o, on. And instead of I, own, ice, as, we have oi, own, ois, us. So it almost sounds like you're saying the same thing, but with like an Australian accent, right? Oi, own, ois, us, instead of I, own, ice, as. Other than that, it's the exact same meaning. If you notice down here in the dative, we've got the same iota subscript. With the accusative, it's still ending with an N, and then I, own, isas, oi, own, ois, us, very, very similar in the way they're formed, but just slightly different. That's the masculine. Then we have the neuter, which is also considered second declension, but it's going to be spelt a little bit differently. Instead of a, as, a, on, or os, u, o, on, we have on, u, o, on, a, on, ois, a. And you'll notice it's a little bit different, and there's some distinctive features here. Then the nominative and in the accusative, they're the same. And then if we look at the genitive and dative on both of these cases, we see those are also the same endings. So it's similar, but the only thing that is different is the nominative and the accusative. Other than that, it's the exact same. And if you're looking at these and you're thinking, oh no, how will I ever remember that? Well, how did you ever remember the feminine, the first declension? You just read it over and over and over again, and then you may have said in your head, a, as, a, on, I own ice os as you were walking around. And then eventually, as you were reading sentences and you saw them, then it started to make sense. It'll be the same with this. So, any questions on this before I move on? This is actually the only new thing we're learning today. Yeah. Right. Yep. It is easier, yeah. But it's a little bit distinctive just because, as we saw, that the nominative and the accusative and the neuter are the same in their spelling. There's an exception, but we'll get it later on down the road. There's also a third declension, but that's a couple lessons from now. Right now, we're just going to be with these first and second declension nouns. And we'll get into what all these words mean in a moment. Yeah.
So when we're learning the vocabulary, it has the O for the masculine and then the O.
Do you mean omicron or omega? When you say
Right.
O?
O adult. Should we be learning that? What do we call it?
The lexical form?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're learning the vocabulary, you'll see it in the nominative the first time you see it, like in a word list. That's sort of the base form. That's also called the lexical form, meaning when you open up a lexicon, which is just a fancy word for a dictionary, that's the form you see listed. Yeah.
Is it the same? Is it correct to say, like, when I see the lexical form, if it's an alpha or an eta, it's feminine noun, or not really?
That's correct. Yeah.
And then masculine are
Os. Yeah. Omicron sigma is a masculine.
And then neuter would be in the lexical on.
Omicron do. Yep.
Okay, that's kind of how you know.
Mm-hmm. And there is an exception, but we haven't run into it yet. There are sometimes some feminine words that appear masculine in form, but will be treated feminine. Don't worry about that yet. That's coming down the road. I'm just giving you the black and white, and then we'll cover the gray as we progress. Okay, so what I want to do now is show you this little chart. Don't let this intimidate you. This is all stuff you've seen. So now we have the feminine pure etas, alphas, feminine eta, and then the mixed, and then we have the masculine. So, and then we have the masculine here and the neuter here. This is all first declension, and this is second declension. And the reason why I want to put this all up on screen at once is so that you can see some patterns. And so as you're reading through these words, your mind will start picking up on the patterns and you won't have to go through that chart every time. So looking at this and you have it in front of you, are there any patterns that pop out that you recognize right away? Just give you a second before I start pointing some out.
Well, accusative singular is always an N.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, accusative singular, always an N. Or a nu. We should use the Greek letters. Yeah. What else do you see? Dative singular always has a iota subscript.
Genitive plural always ends with the own.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Own. Mm-hmm. So actually, ice, and then ois. Ois, remember, the Australian. I hope I'm not offending any Australians who may be listening to this in the future. And then genitive singular, we got as. So as, ace. And then over here in the masculine and the neuter, oo. Spelt differently, but it's pretty consistent that you'll see these oos and as, ace. Anything else? There's one glaring exception. I've been talking about how the nominative and the vocative are the same in form, and that's true here, that's true here, that's true here, that's true here, and then it's true for all of these. But there's one exception right there, that the vocative singular for the masculine does not match the nominative singular here. That's the only exception. I wouldn't worry about it too much. When you're reading a sentence and it's pretty apparent which words are vocative, you don't see it taking a verb, you don't see it in this regular sentence structure. It's usually just someone calling out someone's name or something like that. All right, any questions with this? As you read these sentences over and over again, you're gonna be seeing this over and over, and it'll start to make sense. I'm not presenting anything new other than these forms. All of the grammatical concepts that you learned last time and that you've been working with the past 2 weeks, those are all the same. All right, so we're going to be playing with these in a moment. But I want to just ask some general questions for the class. I'm going to stop there. Look, we just